Hey everybody, happy December 1st. We're only 24 days till Christmas, so you still have time to get yourself some Coffee Brand coffee from coffeebrandcoffee.com, and you get 5% off if you use the code hammertime. Today's story is about President Joe Brandon and a let them eat cake affair that is about to occur. So before I get to it, give this video a like, share, subscribe, leave a comment below. Hit the bell for notifications, that way you can be updated for when the apocalypse does happen, the zombie apocalypse, or World War III, because I still plan on having electricity and internet when that occurs. So, I'll be here. From the Daily Mail, the Bidens dine at D.C. Michelin star restaurant with the Macrons ahead of President's first White House state dinner, where Napa Valley Chardonnay, 200 Maine lobsters, American caviar, and Oregon cheese will be served. Let them eat cake is very appropriate for this. Alright, so, this was published yesterday. President Joe Brandon and his wife had dinner at Doe with French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Bridget at a Michelin-starred restaurant ahead of Thursday night's state dinner. So tonight they're having the state dinner. The Bidens and the Macrons ate at Fiola Mare on Wednesday evening, an Italian restaurant on the bank of the Potomac River, where an entree runs between $50 and $150. The menu includes a variety of pasta, seafood, and cheeses. Seafood is pretty expensive, and if you're going to sell cheeses that are this old, it's going to be expensive. The White House posted a photo of the foursome to its social media accounts. Biden and Macron are enjoying dessert. Ice cream for the president, for the American president, while Jill and Bridget mugged for the cameras. That's this, see? Ice cream, and it looks like that's one scoop and another scoop. So he gets 2 scoops of ice cream, and they get none. Yeah, where's the press story about that? Macron put his arm around Joe as they exited the restaurant while Jill and Bridget walked out side by side. Ooh. The private dinner came ahead of tonight's formal state visit, which will include a military welcome at the White House, an Oval Office meeting, a press conference, and a lavish state dinner on the South Lawn. Preparations have been going on all week, with the French and American flags being hung around Pennsylvania Avenue. This is ridiculous. Oh, there, he put an arm around him. Oh, look. Oh, helping Grandpa to the car. And they're going downstairs. Wow. And 200 live lobsters arrived at the White House on Tuesday. That is a lot of... Do you know how much a lobster is, let alone 200? The crustaceans from Maine will be the main course in Thursday's state dinner tonight, which is starring some of the best cuisine America has to offer, including 3 award-winning cheeses and wines from Napa Valley, which is not local to Washington, D.C. It's getting flown in from... All of the food is being flown in. You're not going to believe... The amount of money that they are spending on this dinner is ridiculous. The French president will be toasting with sparkling wine, not champagne, which is only from the Champagne region of France. They like to point that out like 4 or 5 times in this article. When President Biden hosts the first state dinner of his administration. Yeah, Obama had like 6 by this point. First Lady Jill Biden picked the wine, so hopefully Macron likes Brut Rosé. He began his trip with a grumble, firing an undiplomatic shot at the American president. A reporter for Agence France Presse heard the French president complain that Biden's industrial subsidies are super aggressive against French competitors. This is super aggressive for our business people, he was heard telling members of Congress and business leaders at a lunch on Wednesday, because he was here a day earlier. He was referring to Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which will give billions to U.S.-based it'll give billions to green companies that are doomed to fail. Because this isn't about reducing inflation. This is about green things. And I don't mean like green things like my little doodad over there. Okay. It may be one of the many issues Macron brings up tonight when he arrives at the White House for his one-on-one meeting with Joe. The 2 leaders will also host a joint press conference before sitting down with their spouses to clink glasses to the Franco-American relationship. Here's the place settings. We got red and white flowers and little blue-ish flowers and a blue tablecloth and lots of glasses and lots of silverware, and that one's out of place. That's the tassel for the program for their foods. Here's a couple of cooks. Chef Chris Comer Ford and White House pastry chef Susie Morrison. And they're going to serve these 4 things. And it's probably going to cost the taxpayers a fortune just to have this dinner. Jill Biden and Bridget Macron, meanwhile, on Thursday, will visit Planet Word, an immersive language experience in Washington, D.C. Local school children will join them. It's a photo op. After the day's work, that's work, comes the night's glamour. More than 300... Wait, it said 200 lobsters, but they have 300 guests. Whatever. More than 300 guests in sweeping gowns and tuxedos will descend upon the White House for an evening of music, toasts, and amore. Guests will walk through a snow-covered forest in the White House's East Wing, which is decorated for Christmas, and gather under a glass pavilion on the south lawn for dinner. Chandeliers that will hang above them, candles will light the night sky, and images, fleur-de-lis, stained glass roses, and irises will be flashed on the pavilion walls. It will be heated, too. In case you were wondering if they were going to leave Joe and Jill out in the cold, I know it does good for arthritis, for some arthritis joint pain, but being out in the cold, I'll just let it go. First Lady Jill Biden previewed the night to come on Wednesday. The design of this dinner was inspired by the shared colors of our flags, red, white, and blue, and our common values, liberty and democracy, equality and fellowship. Except she forgot diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that's more of what this name is about up here. These form the bedrock upon which our enduring friendship was built, she said. 8 weeks of planning went into tonight's dinner. 8 weeks. Does your mom spend 8 weeks preparing for Christmas dinner? Or Thanksgiving dinner? What about having somebody come visit them for a night? Do they spend 8 weeks planning that dinner? Or do they spend like a couple days? Well, I guess the Macrons are just more important than you. And Jill doesn't have anything else to do for 8 weeks. And it took 8 weeks to come up with flowers, plates, tables, chairs, silverware, glasses, to project some flowers on the wall, and to light some candles. It took 8 weeks to plan that. The White House staff had outside help from Fete, an event planning and design company firm out of New York, led by founder Jung Lee. So they couldn't even get somebody local to the D.C. area to do this. At the sit-down dinner, the tables will be covered in blue tablecloths. Arrangements of red and white flowers, sprinkled with red candles, will form the centerpieces. The flower arrangements feature France's national flower, the iris, and American beauty roses. There will also be piano roses to honor President Macron's love of the piano. If he was a florist, maybe that would make sense. But if he likes... No, let it go. The gold and white plates that guests will dine off of are rented. They are renting the plates. Typically, state dinners use official White House china from one of the previous administrations. But those place settings are not allowed outside the White House. Because the dinner is taking place out on the south lawn, the china settings can't be used. Right, so they can break every other rule. Completing the table's look are short French-forged champagne vessels that will feature American sparkling wine. See, I told you they would mention it again. In addition to the lobster, caviar, Really? In addition to the lobster, caviar, triple-cooked butter potatoes, and beef and squash raviolo are on the menu. American wine is being served, all picked by the First Lady. See, American wine, sparkling wine. They made a mention of it not being French up there. We had a tasting, said White House Social Security Carlos Elizondo. White House Executive Chef Chris Comerford said the cuisine was inspired by the seasons. We want to honor everything that is beautifully American, she noted. The first thing that we consider is the season, and the next thing is the preferences of the guests, because we want to honor the things that they like, she said. Everything is very well thought of and very thoughtfully made, and it so happens that the White House garden had the squashes ready for us, so what you see in the raviolo came from the garden. Right, it's Obama's garden, and if you knew anything about gardening, or if you know anything about gardening, you know that your products, the fruit of all of your gardening labor, does not all ripen at the same time like the Obama garden does. So I'm thinking this Biden garden might be very similar. The White House garden, I don't think they have squashes enough for 300 guests from that garden. Just saying. White House executive pastry chef Susie Morrison created the dessert. Orange chiffon cake, poached pears, and creme fraiche. ice cream. That all sounds like it would not be found at your local High Neighbor, your local Aldi's, your local Albertsons, whatever your local grocery store is. I know you can find oranges, and I know you might be able to find pears, and right now you ought to be able to find ice cream. But creme fraiche ice cream and chiffon cake, well, you could. Normal people can poach pears, but the ice. Money! Then, in the very front, we've placed the flags of the United States and France on the outer part of the cake, she said, as she displayed her work. The Statue of Liberty will be the backdrop for Joe's toast, and is featured in the menu programs, which will have navy covers and the gold seal of the United States. The reason why it's featured in the menus is because Joe doesn't know where he is, and this saves his handlers from telling him, "Hey, Joe, it's now your turn to go do a toast. This is the part of the dinner where you do a toast, Joe." A graphic rendering of the Statue of Liberty is on translucent paper on the first and last pages of the menu. This statue was a gift from the people of France. Thank you for the history lesson. You could have included the date, a notable quote that was stapled onto the bottom of it that does not determine law. You can mention the reason why we got the... This state dinner will not only reflect the shared colors, history, and values of the United States and France, it also shows the warmth and heart of our First Lady and this White House, said Elizondo. Guests will be feted by Grammy winner musician John Batiste, I don't know him, accompanied by his father Michael Batiste, I don't know him either, and the President's own United States Marine Band, yeah, and the Army and Air Force Strolling Strings, yeah. Batiste is a New Orleans native. These guys, the Grammy people. The Macrons will visit that city, New Orleans, on Friday, tomorrow, for several cultural programs. They're going to some bars. So here's some more shots of the table settings, and you'll notice this is 3 on this side and 3 on that side. I saw some weird stuff in these pictures. Do we have another? Okay. This looks like one of those things from those cat food commercials. And you don't even want me to tell you what I think that looks like. This is the cheese things. This, I am astounded that they thought that this was good decoration. Wow. What is that? Oh, please. Is that the goat cheese? Rogue River Blue, Oregon Cypress Grove, Humboldt Fog, soft ripened goat cheese, and the dessert course. Orange chiffon cake, roasted pears with citrus sauce, creme fraiche ice cream. Which is which? You tell me. So here's the this isn't a cheap printing job either. This is a little booklet thing. And they needed 300 of them. Okay, here's another place setting. We got 3 on this side, 3 on this side. And here's a different table setting with 8 chairs. And they don't say whether or not this table setting is for this group or this table is for another group. Neither. That's not outside. That's not outside. That was supposed to be heated outside. The guest list, practically a state secret, but is expected to be released the night of the dinner, tonight. It is the hottest ticket in town as lawmakers, Democrat donors, and longtime friends of the Bidens want to attend. Elizondo said many parts of the government were involved in deciding who got the coveted invitation. Many offices have been... Well, that's... You're going to have him... You're going to say he did this quote right before you have him do... Right before you quote him? Many offices have been involved in, and, we're trying to sort of bring in all the many supporters and friends of the president. The First Lady for their first state dinner, he said. And he obviously is not a great speaker. Many offices have been involved in... And we're trying to bring in all of the many supporters and friends of the president and the First Lady for their first state dinner, he said. So maybe think about what you're going to say before you say it, because I do that all the time. All the time. The cost of the dinner hasn't been announced. I wonder why. It's paid for through taxes. They're going to say the State Department, since it's an official state occasion, but it's paid for by American taxpayers. Taxpayers bought 200 Maine lobsters and flew them to D.C. Taxpayers bought a bunch of wine and spoiled cheese from California and flew it to D.C. We even got a designer from New York to go to D.C. to help Jill for 8 weeks determine what kind of alcohol and spoiled cheese to put on the tables and to find her some rentable plates and... But an event like a state visit involves many stakeholders, including the White House, State Department, Protocol Office, and the military. So just like that, the cost has gone up. Because we have to pay these people out of taxes to be associated or to attend this event to do things dealing with this event. The Biden's first state dinner is happening nearly 2 years into his term. By comparison, Barry had 6 at this point of his. But the pandemic delayed the normal pageantry that comes with a visit by a foreign leader. Are you sure it wasn't because he was hiding in his basement? Or sleeping it off, or calling it a cap to the day. Oh, we can't do any more today. Or maybe all of those frequent ice cream trips that he was making. I'm just saying. Seems a little bit like, well, now we just have to do it. People are starting to ask questions why we haven't had a dinner. And I don't think we can blame it on the pandemic anymore because of no one believes it anymore. People stopped wearing masks. People no longer trust the shots. So how many boosters does it take? If the 6th booster didn't happen, well, I'm sure the 6th booster didn't help. I'm sure the 7th, 8th, and 9th boosters will put an end to every problem we've ever had. Macron was also a guest for Donald Trump's first state dinner. You cannot do an article without including his name. Biden and Macron's relationship got off to a rocky start. At one point, Macron briefly recalled France's ambassador to the United States after the White House announced a deal to sell nuclear subs to Australia, undermining a French contract. I remember that. But the relationship is mended, and Macron has been one of Biden's staunchest allies in the response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And that's only because they are much closer. The chances of them getting hit by a stray missile being fired at Poland by Ukraine... Nope, not going to go there. Ukraine will top the agenda when the two men meet in the Oval Office on Thursday. Today. Their conversation also is expected to include discussion of Iran's nuclear program and China's increasing aggressiveness. So this is a Barry Obama thing, a John Kerry thing. Well, we need to make sure that they have nuclear stuff, but yeah, we aren't going to be able to ensure that they aren't building nuclear missiles to fire at us. And then we've got China over here stifling protests, and you've got the farmers, the labor, the student, all of these groups. You could have one of them at a time protesting, but now that all 3 of them are protesting together since they burned 10 people alive in an apartment building, well, now China is getting aggressive against their citizens. And of course, Macron is expected to bring up his case against American subsidies. Macron earlier this month said the subsidies could upend the level playing field on trade with the European Union. The French president and his wife arrived Tuesday night. Macron visited NASA headquarters with VP Kamala Harris on Wednesday. I'm not even going to bring it up. I'm not going to bring up her visits to the border, and not going to do it. Not going to do it. He and Bridget Macron also visited... Emmanuel Macron and Bridget Macron also visited Arlington National Cemetery, where he laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. White House spokesman John Kirby said President Joe chose France for his first state visit, because he was the only one that would come, because it's a testament to his foreign policy philosophy that the U.S.'s strength is in its alliance. I thought diversity was our strength. Now it's alliances. Interesting. Our alliance is something that no other nation in the world can match. The network of American alliances. France is our oldest one, he said at Monday's White House press briefing. I'm really interested to find out how much this dinner costs. And, oh wait, there you go. Assume $50 per lobster. That's $10,000 in lobsters alone. Better let them eat cake, eh, Joe? What an unappetizing thank you. And the dinner ending with Pres Magoo messing his pants and Dr. Seuss getting locked with him in the changing room while the macaroons escape. I don't know what you're trying to say, but I think you're trying to say it right. Don't know how they can eat Maine lobster after all they are doing to destroy the industry. Oh. Yeah. I hope they enjoy the dinner, and I hope there aren't too many more dinners, because this is a waste of taxpayer dollar. There, I said it. This is ridiculous. I'm done. I'm done.